In this video, I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to cut this stylish bustier dress with extended peplon hemline or conical hemline effect. So I'm going to go ahead to start drafting. So for the shoulder to bust, I'm using 11 inches. Shoulder to waist, I used 15 inches. Shoulder to half length is 18 inches. Then the blouse length I have here is 24 inches, but I went ahead to add extra extension to it because of the design we have at the hemline. Now I'm going to place the tape and mark the shoulder divided by 2. After that, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Then I'll mark out the basic neckline of 3 inches, which I'm using to serve as a guide to draw out the shoulder slope. I'll connect from the neckline all the way to the shoulder slope of this pattern. Now the next step is to find the chest line, which is the bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. I'll place my ruler and I will go ahead to draw out a straight line. After I'm done marking this, that measurement you have, which is your shoulder divided by 2, you're going to mark it on your chest line. So after marking this, I realized that I used the shoulder measurement I used at the upper part is not the accurate measurement. So the measurement is 17 inches divided by 2, which will give you 8.5. So I came down by 1 inch there and I reconnected my shoulder slope. The next step is to connect from that point to your chest line. After connecting, you're going to divide your armhole into 2 equal parts. Right, you're going to place your tape and connect. Now my chest line is 8.5, that is my armhole line is 8.5. Divide it into 2, then I will come out by half inch here. Now the bust measurement I'm working with, bust 42 inches. Now if you divide bust 42 by 4, what you will have is 10.5 inches. I'll go ahead to place my tape and I'll mark that 10.5 inches. The next step I'll take is to connect from the midpoint of my armhole all the way up and to the bust circumference divided by 4. From the measurements I have, the nipple to nipple is 7 inches. But for bust 42, I don't think the nipple to nipple should be 7 inches. It should be 8 inches. Then if you divide it, you have 4 inches. So since it was the measurement I was given, I'm using it. That is 7 inches. If you divide it by 2, you have 3.5 and mark. Now, I'll just go ahead to connect. After connecting this, from that basic neckline you have, the 3 inches to your shoulder, divide what you have into 2 and you go ahead to connect this all the way to the upper part. So I'll go ahead and I will connect this to the upper part of my pattern. Then after I'm done connecting at this point, for the dart intake, use 1 inch here, then 2 inches on the other side. Now you're going to take this measurement all the way down to the lower part of your pattern. So after you're done marking that, you're just going to go ahead to place your ruler and you're going to connect. So also go ahead to connect on the other side. So if you notice the dart legs at the lower part is not accurate, I will reconnect it. So you also connect from the bust to the under bust of your pattern. The next step you want to take is to place your tape at the upper part and decide where you want the neckline to be. So I came down by 7 inches, which is about 2.5 inches above above the chest line. Now you want to also take the measurements. You have to ask your client that you're making this dress for where you want the neckline to start. So for the dart intake, I'm going to use 1 inch here. Then I'll go over to the other side and I'll use 1.5 inches, which I'll go ahead to connect. So after I'm done connecting, I will also connect at the other side of this pattern. Now this is what I have. Let's insert the body measurement. Mark your bust measurement. The bust is 42 divided by 4. I have 10.5. I'll pick this dart intake I have here and replace it because I'm making a tube dress. Then for this dress, you just need half inch or 1 inch for stitching allowance because you're joining the sides together. Then the under bust measurement we have is 35 inches. If you divide 35 inches by 4, you'll be having 8.75. Then you pick this dart intake of 3 inches, then replace it by the side and just add that half inch or 1 inch stitching allowance because you're joining this directly from the front to the back. This is because of the effect of that extension we have at the hemline. The under bust and waist measurement is 35 inches. If you divide it by 4, you have 8.75. Then you're going to go ahead to mark it also. Then you're also going to pick the dart intake you have here, then replace it. Your dart intake is a total of 3 inches. Then you add that half inch to it or 1 inch. Now at the hemline, the hip measurement is what you mark. The hip we have here is 44 inches. That 44 inches, you're going to divide it by 4. And if you divide it by 4, what you're going to have is 11 inches. So I'm going to mark 11 inches here. Pick this dart intake. And while measuring the dart intake, I noticed that I have an excess on this other side. So Just go ahead and I will readjust my dart. That is 1 inch in front and 2 inches by the side. So after connecting it, I'll go ahead to erase the unwanted part of this pattern. The next step is to go ahead to connect. So for this pattern also, you're going to replace the dart here and add your sewing allowance, then connect your pattern starting from the upper part to the lower part of this dress. Now when you're cutting this pattern, you want to cut it on fold. You want to cut your pattern on fold. Next is to mark your chest line. To get your chest line is the distance between the shoulder to waist in front and the shoulder to waist at the back. The shoulder to waist here is 18, while the shoulder to waist at the back here is 17. If you minus 17 from 18, it will give you 1 inch. Then you just connect it and draw your shoulder dart. Now I'm using my tracing wheel to trace this all out. If you don't have a tracing wheel, what you do is all these measurements now that we marked at this side, you're going to go ahead to mark it again at the other side. So this is the importance of having a tracing wheel. All you have to do is trace through the pattern, make it easier for you, and you just go ahead to draft it out again at the other side. So after drafting out this pattern, that is retracing it to the other side, this is what I have. Now I'll be adding additional pattern paper here. Now the length I actually have for this blouse length is 24 inches, but with the design we have on this dress, that 24 inches might not carry it, might not be enough. So from the side I came down by 4 inches. You can use 3.5. Then I'll extend this out by 1 inch. I'll connect. This is that slight effect we have at the side of the pattern. Another way you can try to cut this is try to cut a bustier with half length and peplon and then trim it out, but it might not really give you what you're looking for. So I'll just go ahead to connect. I'll start connecting from this side to the other side of the dress. Now while connecting, I will go ahead to blend this out. I'll go ahead to blend this out and I will connect this all the way to the other side. Then after connecting, I will also start connecting towards the lower part. This is to get that slight flay or peplon effects by the side, right? So I'll blend here out again. I'll go ahead to extend this. Now after extending this, I'm trying to get the shape we have at this side, right? Then I will go ahead to reconnect this going up. So what I'll do on this other side is I'll add like an extension, just like we have by the side of this dress. So for this extension, I added like extra 9 inches because from the waist to the blouse length is 6 inches. That is, the half length is 18 and the full blouse length is 24. So if you minus it, what you have is extra 6 inches. So when I was cutting out this side, I added an extra 3 inches to the length. Now, this is not a constant. If you're not okay with how lengthy this side is, please go ahead to cut it out. Equally reduce it to 7 to 8 inches. Just do something that is okay, that will also suit that side. For the sides of this dress, you might add an interfacing for it to sit very well or stand out. So for the armhole area, I'm connecting it back to the armhole and blending it out. So this is what I have, and I'll shade out the bust dart. After cutting this out, I will go ahead to cut this out. So at the lower part, I will go ahead to like blend this out. So the reason why I didn't use a peplon to cut this, that is cut the upper part as a bustier and the lower part as a peplon, I feel like if I use a peplon to cut it out, it's going to have more play effect than a structured effect towards the waistline. I'll just go ahead and I will cut this out. After cutting, while cutting, I'll blend the dart while cutting it out. Then after cutting this, we are going to cut out the back pattern. And while cutting out the back pattern, we are going to make reference to the front pattern of this dress. So I'm just taking out the excess pattern paper I added at the hemline just to achieve this extended hemline towards the side. Also blend out your dart at this side. So after cutting out, this is what I have. So if you have any questions so far, please kindly go ahead to ask. And if you're not okay with it, you can easily readjust some parts before transferring your pattern to fabric. Now to cut the back pattern of this dress, I went ahead to mark a zipper. I will be marking it with a zipper and also a lacing. This totally depends on what you want to use. For the zipper, you can use 1.5 or 2 inches. Here is the shoulder to bust in front, the shoulder to waistline, and then from the waistline, I still added extra 6 inches because from the waistline of the front to the blouse length is extra 6 inches. Now I'll go ahead to mark the shoulder divided by 2. Then I will be coming down by 1 inch. After coming down by 1 inch, I'll mark a basic neckline of 3 inches to connect my shoulder slope. The next step I'll take is to find the chest line. To find your chest line is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Then after marking this, I'll place my ruler to draw a straight line. I'll also mark back my shoulder divided by 2 on the chest line. Then I'll place my ruler to connect this all the way to the other end of this, to the sleeve part. So what I'll do now is to go ahead to divide what I have here into 2 equal parts, and I'll fold my tape and mark half inch. I'll come in by half inch, then place my tape on the chest line. I'll mark the bust measurement divided by 4. From this point, I'll connect to the upper part and connect to the bust circumference divided by 4. After I'm done connecting at this point, what I'll do now is to start marking the dart for this dress. To mark my dart, I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. Then I will be marking this all the way down. Sorry, I'll be marking the nipple to nipple divided by 2. Remember, the nipple to nipple I have here is 7 inches. If I divide it by 2, it will give me 3.5 inches. Now you want to place your ruler to connect. After you're done connecting at this point, the next step is to mark half inch on both sides. Come down by 1 inch from the bust. Then you're going to come down to this point and then to the other half inch you have by the side. So I'll extend my dart all the way down towards the lower part of this pattern, and I'll also repeat it at the other side. So the next step I'll take is to go ahead to insert the body measurement. First measurement I have is 42 divided by 4 will give me 10.5. Then add your stitching allowance. Mark your waist measurement divided by 4, which will give you 8.5. Measure the dart intake, replace, and add your stitching allowance. Here you're going to mark your hip measurement, which is 44 divided by 4, which will give you 11, and then you're going to add your stitching allowance to it. So the next step you're going to take is to go ahead to connect from this point all the way to the upper part, and you're going to connect to the hemline of your dress. Now after connecting at this point, you're going to also draft out this at the other side, because one side of this dress will also be shorter than the other side. Now you'll be marking out the zipper bulge. Remember, like I said, for this pattern I'll be marking it in case you want to use a zipper and in case you want to use a lacing at the back of this dress. I'll come in by half inch, then I'll extend this all the way to the upper part of this pattern. Then I'll also mark out the chest line. I'll connect this to the lower part. I'll come down by half inch here and connect. This is to avoid the zipper area from popping up while putting on the dress. Now after connecting this, I'll go ahead to cut this out before altering this pattern to get the desired dress. After cutting out, this is what I have, and I'll be adding additional pattern paper to the lower part. Now for this side of the back, I'm going to bring the front pattern that will be matching it, because the side of your pattern should be matching. So from here I'll place the line matching, then I'll now extend it just like I extended the other side. Then I'll start by connecting. So while connecting, for the back I don't want it to be too low so that it will be very comfortable for you to wear your dress. That is probably when you're putting it on. So what I'll do is I'll use the hemline of this side, that is from the waistline. I'll maintain the length, that is that 24 inches blouse length at the back, right? I'll maintain it for that side. I will not come down just like I did for the front. Now also for this other side that has an extension, what I'll do is I'll use my tape to add additional pattern paper to it. After adding it, I'll now go ahead to take it, and that is the front pattern, and place, because the sides are meant to be the same. So please, for the extension I used 9 inches. If you're not okay with this 9 inches, you can use extra 2 inches to your pattern, that is 8 inches by the side, right? Just readjust it to suit you by the side of the dress. So after cutting this out, we are trying to like use the shape of the front pattern to get that of the back. Now this is what I have. Now if I place these two together, I'll also go ahead to cut out this side. So the zipper area should be matching. The zipper area of both patterns should be matching, right? So this is what I have at this point. Now let's say you want to use a lacing. If you're using a lacing, you just come in by 2 inches or 1.5 from your zipper allowance and draw a straight line. You'll be cutting that part out. So you also repeat it at the other side too. You'll be cutting that side out. You go ahead to measure the same 2 inches. If that is what you want to use, you mark it connecting a straight line. So after doing that, you'll be cutting this out. You're going to cut this out. Also indicates where you have like your lacing bar. Now after cutting out, you notice this side will not match again. That is, if you want to use a lacing, you then go ahead to reconnect it to blend out to match. Then if you don't want to sew out your dart, you can just cut it and join it back much later, as you see me doing. So I'll also go ahead to cut the other side of this pattern and join it back. Please, if you have any questions so far, please kindly go ahead to ask. Now let's cut out the sleeve, that is the cape sleeve. So now you want to measure from your shoulder to where you want the sleeve to stop, probably slightly under your bust measurement. So you're going to place your tape and you mark your shoulder divided by 2. Mark out a basic neckline of 2.5 inches, come down by 2 inches, and then you go ahead to connect. After connecting from that your shoulder, you're going to come down by 1 inch, which will serve as your shoulder slope, and you will connect. Then you're going to work on the neckline area. I'm coming down by 2.5 inches here. Please, it's not a standard. So from this shoulder, I will come out a bit by 1 inch. When I'm coming out, you can come out by 1 inch, 1.5. I'll create like this slightly puffy effect. Then I'll now take it all the way down. This is to get that bulgy effect towards the shoulder. Then I'll start reconnecting it to this point. So please, if you're not okay with my own measurements, please go ahead to readjust for this part. So I'm just using a guesswork for the measurement of this side because I didn't actually measure the person. So I'll just go ahead to cut this out. After cutting this out also, I'm going to cut the lower part of this design. So now you open it up and we go ahead to readjust. I'll come in here by 1.5 to 2 inches, which I will connect to the neckline. So after connecting this, I will go ahead to cut it out. Now to cut the other side, I will just get another pattern paper and I will retrace what I have here. So I've gone ahead to place this pattern and I will pin it down. For the back neckline, I'll come down by 1 inch and mark out a straight line, then curve it out. So this one I'm cutting now will be for the back. So for the back neckline, it will be a bit higher. Now I'll connect. Then what I'll do is to cut out. After cutting it out, what we are going to cut out is the collar of this cape sleeve. So also note the center point because we are going to slash it out. We are going to open it. What you do is you're going to add like a loop and button at the back of this dress. So what I'll do to go ahead to tape it. I'll tape it at the shoulder just to see the outcome of what I have at this point. So please, if the shoulder is not curvy enough, please go ahead to do that. The next step is to go ahead to measure what you have around this neckline. You're going to measure what you have around this neckline. So I have a total of 14.5. So when you draft yours, measure what you have round. That is after joining the cape. You now measure the neckline which you're going to cut out. So I'll be cutting this on fold, right? So that's 14.5. If you divide it by 2, it will give you 7.25. So when I mark it, I'm going to divide this into 2 equal parts. That's 7.25 and mark. So from the ending point, I will mark ½ inch and connect it. Then I will now mark the height of the collar. So you can use 2 inches, 1.5, 2.5. Just measure what you want to use. Then I will reconnect it. Now the reason why I cut this way is so that the collar will not gape. Like the collar is going to relax because you're not meant to cut your collar in a straight form. So you now go ahead to attach it to the neckline.